Alright guys, we are here today. It is Monday. It is March 24th. The market is honestly back a little bit today. We've bounced back a lot in a couple different things. Gold still up there around all-time highs, still pretty close. Nvidia at 120. We've bounced back a lot. Let me know if you like these charts. This is the old school TOS charts. I still like them a lot, the old school ones. The SPY up pretty big today at the 570 level. Yeah, what's up guys? What's up? Bar Plus Trading, Pawn, BT, JP, G-Man, Sam, Ray, Dark, Mark, Peterson. What's up, man? Alright guys, so yeah, let's talk about some news. Where's my coffee at? There it is. Yeah, you can see the SPY is up pretty significantly today. Let's talk about why. All right, so the EU Trade Commissioner is heading to Washington to meet U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick on Tuesday. The UK Prime Minister Starmer says no, he would not consider changing fiscal rules. We have ECB's Maklouf says they're not going to comment on rate cuts for April, says things are moving in the right direction and disinflation is working. Let's see if we got any other news. We got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, to be honest. Yesterday, futures and almost everything went up. You can see the SPY up, Nvidia up to 120s. If we take a look at the QQQ, it's up pretty big. We take a look at the Dow. Dow's up pretty big too. So most stuff's doing pretty decently in markets. Bro, I'm telling you, AI is not good sometimes. How you guys doing this weekend? Let's see. Green continue for 2 weeks. Yeah, so vote on the poll. We got 100 votes already. 80% think we're going to continue into the green. We'll see. All right, so AZEK gapping up a little bit. Let me make sure AI is right. Yeah, so AZEK gapping up after James Hardie Industries agreed to acquire the company for $8.75 billion. We got Tesla up a little bit today. It is up almost 4% of pre-market investor confidence. MicroStrategy up 5%. Yeah, with the rest of the market adjusting its preferred stock offering price. One of the biggest days coming up in markets, guys, is next Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday is a huge day, an absolutely huge day in markets, to be honest, an absolutely huge day. Next Wednesday is tariff day. It is overwhelmingly being watched for the tariffs coming out next Wednesday. We also have ADP non-farm employment on Wednesday next week, as well as factory orders getting released. Next week's honestly a crazy week. We got JOLTS, we got ISM manufacturing, we got non-farm employment, jobless claims, ISM services, trade deficit data, non-farm employment data, and unemployment, or non-farm payroll data and unemployment data all next week, as well as we've got tariff day on April 2nd when a lot of the tariffs are supposed to take effect. This week we got PCE on Friday, GDP Thursday, durable goods Wednesday, Case-Shiller, house price index, consumer confidence tomorrow, and today we have S&P services and manufacturing flash data at 9:45. We also have GameStop earnings this week. So we do have GameStop earnings. So yeah, GameStop earnings this week. We got Lunar this morning. Nothing really big. Is that Lucid? No. Yeah, nothing really big today for earnings or tomorrow. Tuesday, we got GameStop. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, honestly. I don't know if the market's going to react favorably or not from all this stuff. I really don't. I don't know if the market's going to go up, down, or sideways from this. Yeah, we got flash services and manufacturing PMI data at 9:45. We'll cover it. Durable goods, Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin up to 87 is looking better, man. Better than it has been for sure. Here's Bitcoin right here. Here's an hourly chart. So this is a chart that shows the last 20 days of price action. So you see in the last 20 days, Bitcoin has dropped from basically 97,000 all the way to 76K. And then it's rebounded back up, and now it's at almost 88,000 right now. So it's doing better. It's definitely looking better than it did. Obviously, it's not going to always go straight up, but it's definitely looking better than it was. Yeah, so the president is calling it Liberation Day. I don't know why. I'm not like, I don't know why. S&P up, buoyed by reports suggesting the upcoming tariffs from the administration may be more targeted and exclude certain nations or sectors. Nasdaq 100 surged 1.2%, driven by renewed investor interest in tech. All right, so look at NVIDIA break 120s here. So NVIDIA over 120s, looking good. All right, so we're going to make our post that we always do. Man, but what a crazy time, dude. It's funny that he's calling it Liberation Day. I don't know how. But hey, we'll see. Yeah, April 2nd. Honestly, do y'all think the market's going to go up or down from this report? That's what I'm curious about. Like, does the market... I think one of the things that we could see, and I'm not saying this is something we do see, but one of the things I think we could see is if the tariffs, for whatever reason, are less devastating than expected, then we maybe get positive action leading into it. I don't know for sure. I'm just kind of speculating. But I think that's something we could see. I hope, maybe it's just confirmation bias. I hope that's what we get. I hope they're not as bad as expected and somehow the market likes it. But who freaking knows, man? You know. All right, and again, we got our x.com post here. We've got all kind of stuff. We got market data, economics. We've got All right, so here's the post. If you want our X.com post, we just made it. Here it is right here if you want to check it out. Give me a follow. There's my X.com post. Give your boy a follow. We appreciate it. Yeah, so again, Bitcoin up to 88,000. Nvidia up to 120s. Dow at 42.7 thousand. We're going to look at some other market news too, to be honest. S4 Capital shares climb on first dividend and debt reduction. If there's any other news. So we got this guy, Mike Wilson, that thinks the Mag 7 can bounce into the next earnings season. According to Morgan Stanley's Mike Wilson. All right. I don't know. People are basically saying that fear is overblown. Earnings season is going to catapult us back up. I think it's possible. I think it's also possible we can keep going down. Who freaking knows? Sorry, I'm setting up something so I can see it. Yeah, I'm looking up other news here too. Let me see. European commodities. We're starting to see some optimism, I would say, and it's much better than last week. I think we've had a lot of economic releases. All right, now let's talk about why this Mike Wilson guy. What am I interested in? Yeah, so this guy, Mike Wilson, he says there's a number of reasons for the improvement in sentiment. He said the market was looking oversold last week with relative strength indices dropping sharply, and Morgan Stanley, their own sentiment indicator, reaching what it terms a low extreme. He said investors' positioning had become increasingly more bearish, which is a contrarian indicator, while from now seasonal trends become more supportive. He basically said that's why the S&P recovered after falling toward the bottom of the 56 to 6100. He thinks a tradable rally is occurring. The next hurdle will be April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs applied by the current administration. He said, quote, while this deadline could offer some clarity on tariff rates in countries, products, and scope, it is likely a starting point for tariff negotiations as opposed to a clearing event. Dollar has been weak, he said. Yeah, so basically he thinks we're going to rebound back. I think one of the other hurdles is PCE data. You know, the Fed looks at PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index. That is something that the Federal Reserve watches pretty closely. That's their preferred inflation metric. It's what they look at to gauge inflation. Like, I look at CPI a lot. We cover CPI here, but the Fed looks at PCE. And so that's going to be what they're focusing on, what their scope is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we got GDP final. And is it the final reading for GDP? Let me see. Is it really? It's the second revision. Yeah. Let me know if you want me to change this music. It's a little bit too hyped up for me. Well, no, wait. So this Thursday is the second. Let me see. It's the second. You know, the problem is they call, I'm trying to make sure the GDP report that we get. Yeah, so this is the third and final release. It's expected at, yeah, I just wanted to confirm it was the third one. It is 2.3% is what they're thinking. And if they confirm 2.3%, that is a little bit low than last time. But what I think next month GDP report is going to be the most interesting because, you know, we've had a lot of economists basically state that we're in a negative GDP situation right now for the current quarter. And I don't know. I think next month's GDP will be very interesting because it's going to be a new slate for GDP. It's going to be the initial estimate, which is going to be obviously more variance driven, but it's going to be a new GDP report. You got the advanced estimate, the second estimate, and the third estimate, which is the second revision. First one's based on early data. It's the most varied. Second one's more complete, revised, kind of middle ground. Third one's the most accurate, includes the latest data, which is Thursdays of this week. And so, yeah. That's what we're looking at. Is this music too much? I just have them whatever. Like, here, let me... It's a little bit too much. I can't really do this. I like Dylan Sits, but his oh man. But his music lately, he switched it up. It used to be like, it's hard to explain. Alright. Yeah. I'm trying over here, guys. Music is bullish. Timbaland on the beat, yeah. Honestly, I like Timbaland's albums. I really do. My wife and I listen to them. Bro, I'm picking out whatever songs they give me. I'm not really trying to pick this stuff out here, guys. Like, I'm doing my best. Honestly, I usually like Dylan Sit's music, but this, again, his new songs have been a little bit, I think there's got to be a better way. You see, you can tell how subjective music tastes are by listening to the chat. Some people love it, some people hate it, you know. All right, Bitcoin back up to 88,000. Let's see what else we got. Recent dollar weakness should support U.S. earnings revisions versus Europe, is what they're saying. Where's the Dixie at? Yeah, the dollar honestly has been moving a lot like yields, which is kind of how it goes in weak markets. If we take a look at the Dixie, and again, to put it in perspective, you hear me talk about the Dixie a lot. The Dixie is just the US dollar's value compared to other currencies, the euro, the yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, and more. So it's just basically the strength of the US dollar relative to other currencies. If we put up like the Dixie, here's a correlation that's pretty easy to see. If you put up the Dixie bond yields, what is this, an hourly chart? I'll put an hourly chart here too. You put the Dixie bond yields and then like the QQQ. They're all going to look pretty similar, I think, on a longer term chart. Here's an hourly chart for all of them, right? So like one thing that you'll see is like we got the Dixie on the left side, which is the US dollar strength index. We have 10-year treasury yields, which are basically like interest rates as well. Like this is basically what interest rate sentiment is doing also. And then we got the Nasdaq 100 ETF, the QQQ. They're all doing a similar thing, dropping, rebounding, dropping, rebounding, dropping, rebounding. And so they all kind of follow each other. When we get weakness in markets, bond yields typically follow us to a certain extent. The Dixie can follow us. Depending on what's going on in markets, the Dixie can follow us as well. But they're all moving very similarly. Let's put NVIDIA up. NVIDIA doing a very similar thing too. And obviously one of the biggest catalysts is going to be NVIDIA earnings the next time it happens. We got to wait for the next earnings season. NVIDIA earnings are a little bit afterwards too though, so we got some time. And then Bitcoin. Is music too loud? All right, I'll turn it down. No, I trade a little bit of everything, to be honest. Yeah, we got manufacturing PMI today. It's just flash manufacturing, so I don't know if it's going to be the biggest release here. So yeah, the stuff going on in markets is this. Okay, we got flash services and manufacturing today, 9:45. That's the first thing. Second thing is the White House is narrowing its approach to tariffs set to take effect on April 2nd. I think that's one of the reasons the market is bouncing back, according to the Wall Street Journal. Again, they basically said that the White House is narrowing its approach to tariffs set to take effect on April 2nd, likely omitting a set of industry-specific tariffs while applying reciprocal levies on a targeted set of nations that account for the bulk of foreign trade with the U.S. And so again, we'll put this up in chat. This is probably why markets are bouncing back here. And again, this is probably why markets are bouncing back some today. And I think that optimism regarding April 2nd, which is being looked at kind of like this doom date as tariffs take effect. Tariffs have wildly influenced markets. Tariff news has wildly influenced most markets, and so we'll see what we get. Crypto is saying the correction is over. Maybe. Yeah, this is all copyright free music. None of it has copyright restrictions on it. Yeah, Tesla is actually green today to a certain extent. It's up a little bit at least. Yeah, so Tesla at 260s. So Tesla actually going green a little bit on the day. And yeah, let's break down some of the tariffs. It's the day after April Fool's Day, too. So April Fool's Day is April 1st. The tariffs are supposed to hit April 2nd. All right, so the U.S. administration plans to implement new tariffs April 2nd as part of its reciprocal tariff strategy, aiming to match the tariffs that other countries impose on the U.S. However, the specifics of these have evolved, with certain sectors potentially being exempted. Again, it's one of the reasons the markets are up today. Here's a breakdown. The core intent of the reciprocal tariffs is to equalize the tariff rates between the U.S. and its trading partners. It means that if a country imposes higher tariffs on U.S. products, the U.S. intends to impose equivalent tariffs on imports from that, from the company, from that country. The administration believes this approach will encourage fair trade practices and address trade imbalances. But there will be sector-specific exemptions. A recent report indicates that the administration may exclude certain sectors from the upcoming tariffs. Automobiles and auto parts initially considered for the tariffs. The auto industry might receive exemptions due to concerns about potential price increases for consumers and disruptions to supply chains. If he does put some tariff exemptions towards vehicles, I wonder if it's going to benefit Elon in any specific way. Tesla stock is up to 260 today on this news. So I'm wondering if Tesla rallies after this specific, if this does come out that they're less imposing on vehicles in general. It might be good for Tesla and other automotive brands like GM, Ford, stuff like that. Let me see. Are the rest of the automotive brands bouncing on this news? Yeah, Ford is up a little bit. GM is gapping up from like 49s to 51s. So yeah, it looks like a lot of people are seeing that dynamic of like maybe less strict tariffs on automobiles, and then automobile stocks are rallying like GM, Ford, Tesla. Semiconductors is also a watch. Companies in the semiconductor sector, such as Marvel and Taiwan Semiconductors, have seen stock price increases amid speculation of these exemptions. The pharmaceutical industry is also under certain considerations for exemptions. Those specific details are yet to be confirmed. So yeah, those companies are mostly rallying. It's one of the reasons Nvidia is up today. It's one of the reasons GM, Tesla, Ford are gapping up some today as well. A little bit more optimism on less stringent tariffs. Now, the reciprocal tariffs are expected to focus on countries with which the U.S. has big trade deficits. The administration has not released the official list for this, though. Nations with substantial trade surpluses with the U.S. are likely going to be targeted. How is this going to affect consumers is what we want to know. The reciprocal tariffs are expected to focus on countries with which the U.S. has had significant trade deficits. Consumers may experience price increases on a lot of different goods due to these tariffs. The tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico could raise the costs of fruits, veggies, automotive products. Analysts are predicting that vehicle prices could increase by $4,000 to $12,000, affecting both new and used markets. It's not going to help us with inflation. Obviously, these countries have reacted in some ways. The European Union has expressed concerns. It's considering retaliatory measures if the tariffs adversely affect its exports. Canada and Mexico evaluating their responses, especially given the potential impact on industries such as agriculture and automotive. It's important to note that the situation remains fluid, though, and yeah, ongoing discussions, potential adjustments might happen before April 2nd, influencing all this stuff. Just be careful. You never really know. You can try to make bets on different outcomes here for April 2nd, but you never really know what's going to happen here. So just be careful, guys. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, no, so Kevin, what most people are agreeing with is that this is just the start, right? Like, this is just the start. I don't think anybody really knows if this is the bottom or not, though. I don't think anybody really knows. I think what people are going to gauge April 2nd with is the standard of the tariffs that we're looking at. How strict is he going to be? How heated is he going to be pushing towards these tariffs, right? Like, is it going to be something that is sustaining tariffs? And you know, is he going to just continue to be forceful with these tariffs over the next year? Is something that a lot of people are speculating on. You know, I see some people saying, oh, the bottom's not in. Maybe it's not. Maybe we keep dropping down. I think it's very possible, especially if he continues this degree at, you know, of trade war pushing. I think, yeah, obviously we could continue dropping. That's, you know, definitely possible. I think a lot of it also depends on inflation data this week. We got GDP final revision data. And so I think a lot of it depends. I don't think anybody really knows. You know, we can try to mock the other side, like it's the Bloods and Crips, like one side, and, you know, like if you think we're bouncing here, you're dumb, or you think we don't bounce here, or if you think we crash here, you're dumb, or whatever. But I don't think it really matters. I think nobody knows what the market's going to do. I think it's possible on both sides. I think it's possible we bounce back here. It's also possible we continue down if we get some bad news, some high inflation, some weak GDP. You know, I think we go down. And so we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's, you know, and I think honestly, the context of today's manufacturing data is a little bit more relevant than normally I would say we get for flash manufacturing data. Private equities and their CLOs are about to bankrupt pensions. Maybe. Last I checked, we had all that. You mean high inflation, weak economy? In what readings have we had that? Genuine question. I'm not saying you're wrong, but in what readings have we had high inflation and weak economics? I'm trying to think back on the last few reports here. If we look back at last week's report, we had the Fed meeting. Not really any inflation readings or anything. Jobless claims showed up as expected. Existing home sales showed up stronger than expected last week. Philly Fed Index showed stronger manufacturing sector last week on Thursday. Retail sales came in basically flat. We did have weaker Empire State Manufacturing Survey last week. That's true. But I don't know. Let me look back at what we had prior to this. So we had JOLTS showed up stronger than expected the week before. We got inflation data showed up lower than expected the week before. CPI data showed up lower than expected, so it was better than expected the prior week, not last week, but the week before last. PPI showed up lower than expected as well the week before that. Jobless claims showed up basically flat. Michigan data came in a little bit worse, but not terrible, I guess. Should have been 4.9% 1 year and 3.9% 5 year. A little bit higher than before. Consumer sentiment came in lower as well. So, I mean, I think the data, honestly, has been pretty mixed. I don't think it's been super heavily weighted towards either side in terms of what the data shows up as. I just don't think it's been super weighted to either side. This candle's not an actual drop. It looks like it's just a 7 a.m. rogue order. Or, I'm sorry, 8 a.m. rogue order getting filled is what this looks like to me. Well, I mean, it depends on which way you look at inflation, right? Like, inflation, prices are high relative to what they were 5 years ago, 4 years ago, prior to the craziness that happened. Prices are certainly high relative to then. We're paying 2 or 3x more than we were paying back then. But when we're reading inflation, that's not really like, that's a lot of the time that's the case, because in general, inflation tends to increase over time, right? So like over time, inflation tends to increase. Now, what we look at to gauge inflation on a more recent basis is not how much it was years and years ago, but how much it is now, which currently, again, it was lower than expected on the last few reports. And so both of them can be true. Like, inflation's definitely worse than it was in terms of prices. But, yeah. All right, so we also have some news here about the ECB cutting rates. Let me go back. Hold on. When did this happen? Did the ECB cut rates this morning? Was it this morning? Let me see. No. Must have been last week. The European Central Bank, this was as of yesterday, cut its benchmark lending rate by a quarter point on Thursday of last week. The sixth reduction it started lowering since it started lowering borrow costs in June. So they've cut rates 6 times. Interesting. And again, so shares of Marvel, Tech, GM are up after reports that the president might exclude those sectors from new tariffs due to take effect April 2nd. Also, Nvidia, other stocks are up. D-Wave Quantum stock and shares of other quantum companies were up on Monday after a tumble last week when Nvidia's Quantum Day underwhelmed markets. Furiosa AI. So Meta put in an offer for this AI chip company called Furiosa AI, but they rejected Meta's $800 million offer. Korean chip startup Furiosa AI has turned down an $800 million takeover offer from Meta Platforms, choosing instead to grow the business as an independent company, a person with knowledge of the matter said. Meta had been in discussions about acquiring them since the start of the year. A rep for Furiosa declined to comment. Meta officials couldn't immediately be reached for comment, but they're one of the handful of Asian startups that has attracted Meta. Jun Paik is a guy who previously worked at Samsung and AMD. Yeah. Meta's going through, but they rejected Meta. That's a bold move, man, honestly. 800 million? It depends on how much he gets, right? If he's getting 100 million, that's still a lot. You're set for life. 100 million, you're set for life. So, and there's always risks, right? Like, your company might be the greatest right now. You never know what the next few years are going to look like, especially something that you see sometimes with these companies. Like, an example of this is like Microsoft and what was the first browser company? Netscape. Microsoft wanted to buy Netscape. Netscape said no. Netscape IPO'd, became one of the most successful IPOs in tech at the time. And then Microsoft started including their browser, the Internet Explorer, completely free with their operating system. With Microsoft computers. Basically, you got their browser free, and this was before the standard was free. And within a couple years, Netscape went from billions in valuations to nothing, basically. They were eventually bought by America Online, I think. I think it was AOL for a couple $1 million, and that's it. And so sometimes companies that get rejected in their buyout attempts end up just kind of going scorned. Although, I don't know. I think there's so many AI competitors now. I don't know if it's the same as that. Yeah, so will Tesla has been on a red streak, you guys. So Tesla has had 9 straight weekly losses in share price. 9 straight. Here is a 4-hour chart. You can kind of see this is a long-term downtrend. Look at this downtrend for Tesla. Tesla has had 9 red weeks in a row here, guys. 9 red weeks in a row. Look at this. But they're up today, honestly. They're up a little bit this morning. They're up. And so can they avoid their 10th straight weekly loss? You know, I think the tariff news is good for them, honestly. I think the tariff news is good. Automobiles being potentially exempt is great news for them, of course. And I think that's very plausible, too, because of how closely they're working, you know. But yeah. Yeah, Yahoo didn't take the deal too. What was Yahoo? Yahoo was offered a couple billion. Or it was like $1 billion or $2 billion or something like that. You know. Yahoo still got Yahoo Finance though, so which is a very valuable finance company. So like it's close. Yeah, Meta lowballed him. That's probably true. AI robots. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it. They don't think the robots are feasible. I don't know. I really don't know. Hey, what's up, Faye? Until the president speaks on tariffs April 2nd, I can't see us breaking out what he does and says will have a huge impact on sentiment. Yeah, for sure. I'm waiting for that day. April 2nd, a huge day. All right, so Lockheed had a setback. The stock downgraded after Boeing wins fighter jet contract. Yeah, so Lockheed Martin, what's the symbol? It's LMT. Yeah, Lockheed Martin down. You can see Boeing is up after, look at this drop. Boeing down. Or Boeing is up a little bit this morning. Apparently they won some type of contract. Yeah, Treasury's down. Yeah, so U.S. Treasuries fell, which is a sign that investors are now favoring riskier assets like the stock market after reports that the president is set to announce next month will be more targeted. That's the big news on the day. So Boeing pulled off an upset, they're saying. So the president announced the Air Force next jet fighter designed to ensure America rules the skies would be made by Boeing instead of Lockheed Martin. That's what happened. So again, the next jet fighter is going to be designed by Boeing instead of Lockheed. That's why Boeing is up. Look at AMD going up again. Again, the microchip, less targeting in terms of microchip vehicles and more is what's, in regards to the tariffs, is what's dragging the market up. And so, I mean, that's what you guys got to understand here, is that, like, there's a reason the market's up. Like, there's a reason the market's up, and it has to do with tariffs. All right, like, I'm going to keep saying this today because it's important for people to understand. There's a reason the market is up today, and it has to do with tariffs, right? The tariffs are going to be less targeted on automotive brands, right? Most likely. And so what's moving up today? GM, Tesla, Ford, they're moving up today because the tariffs are going to be less targeted to automotives. Another one that they're going to be less targeted to potentially is microchips. So what stocks are moving up today? Nvidia, AMD, MU, all gapping up today on that news. Yeah. So that is what's going on. And again, we're going to put a full breakdown into basically why the market's going up today. All right, so yeah, we got a full article. All right, so yeah, we got a full breakdown into it. All right, so yeah, here is basically a full news post breaking down the tariffs and why they're up, why the market is up. There's the link right there. You can give me a follow if you want to help support the channel. But that is basically a full article breaking it down. Give me a follow on X. I appreciate it. AMD will beat Nvidia over the next 2 years. That's a bold statement, maybe. I mean, it's possible. Credit default swaps. No, Yahoo Finance is still pretty good. I don't hate it. It's not the, like, there's other better ones, I think, but it's still, like, if it's in the top 5 of finance resources, it's still incredibly valuable as a company. So, yeah. And we do have flash services and manufacturing today. That's honestly a bigger report than it normally is, just based off of everything going on with tariffs, right? Like, why are we doing tariffs? To build U.S. manufacturing. And so in that light, U.S. manufacturing is relevant and important to pay attention to. So I hope that makes sense. Bearish articles on Ford are coming out, trying to keep the stock price low. Maybe. Yeah, they're at 9:45 Eastern Standard Time. 9:45. We're going to cover them. I don't know how much they're going to move the markets, but a lot of people are talking about them, which is a little bit different than normal. And, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are talking about them, which is different than normal. And so we'll cover them. What's up, South? Where's Apple at? I'm looking at Apple. Apple back up to 220, so Apple's green on the day as well. Most stocks are green. They're following the big seven. AMD, MU. Here's the Nasdaq. Here's Nvidia. So I'm looking at an article that was published yesterday titled, "Analysts are cutting first quarter forecasts more than normal. They still expect growth." Again, we got GameStop, Dollar Tree, Lululemon this week. The tariffs have made consumers, the Fed, and Wall Street more worried. Investors turn their attention to first quarter results in the week ahead. Much of corporate is still expected to put a profit up. Analysts expect the companies in the S&P to put up a 7.1% increase in EPS in the first quarter. That would be 7 straight quarter of year-over-year growth. It says those analysts have still been cutting their forecast for first quarter results more aggressively than normal, a sign of pessimism about that period. Analysts still they trim quarterly forecasts as initial optimism hits financial realities. But Fed Chair Powell said last week that uncertainty over the economy was unusually elevated. And Goldman Sachs analysts last Friday said that the sharply bearish turn in attitudes in markets this month rivaled that seen in 2022 when the Fed began hiking rates in an effort to combat the 10% inflation that we got following 2020. At the same time, though, the FactSet still thinks that the vast majority of analysts covering big tech like Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia still recommend buying here. Again, I'm not telling you to buy it. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Understand all this stuff on screen. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. But yeah, basically people are worried about a bubble continuing to hang over the AI boom. And so they're basically worried about a bubble in AI. We got Dollar Tree, Lululemon, Chewy, Wolf, GameStop coming soon. We'll stream GameStop's earnings. I don't know about the other ones, though. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm seeing even in like my chat room here is that markets have become so political, man. And people are so emotional about politics. Like, so emotional about politics. Like, I saw one of the guys that's like harassing, like he's sending me weird emails and all this stuff. And like, of course, he was like really political in nature, right? And it's like, it's crazy because I tell people I'm not an expert. I never really root for either side of the political spectrum. I'm very neutral. But, like, people are so wrapped up in politics right now that they just get super hyper emotional about it. And, again, that's fine. If you root for, like, a political side, like, I get it. I really do. But it just kind of shows how much the market is tied to politics right now. Like, tariffs are influencing everything in markets. It's a little different. Like, I've covered the market for years and years and years, right? It's a little different than it normally is. It's definitely more politically weighted right now, which I guess is a really interesting kind of landscape of things in finance right now. But yeah, we'll see what happens April 2nd. That's Judgment Day, I think, for a lot of people. April 2nd, when all these big tariff talks and all these tariffs are supposed to, we're supposed to get comments from the president regarding all this stuff, updates on it. And he has labeled it. What did he label it? He labeled it, Somebody already probably told me in chat right now. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what did he label it? Y'all aren't gonna tell me? Alright, I gotta look this up. Yeah, Liberation Day. That's what he named it. Thank you, Turbulence. Liberation Day. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of it. I couldn't think of it. I knew it. I've read it already this morning. What an interesting time. What's up, Mitch? How you doing, brother? I've had to do a lot of blocking on YouTube lately. Yeah, bro. It's people are so emotional, man. And I really do believe, like, look, believe whatever you want regarding politics, but just don't be so emotionally tied to it that if I say something everybody knows I'm politically neutral here, you know? But so like if I talk about Tesla being down 50%, that's just the truth. Tesla's down 50%. I'm not even saying I want it to be down, but it's down 50%. I think people are just hyper emotional about it. So y'all just be careful. You know, be careful in these markets, man. The markets react in crazy ways. And again, today we got manufacturing data coming out. And so I'm wondering how much this is going to affect markets, if it's going to affect it more than like normal, more than standard. Because, yeah. It's like a Hollywood movie right now, I guess, bro. Yeah, I'm definitely the top 3 most neutral person in all the world right now. Definitely top 3. Right, exactly, Faye. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. GameStop's leading into their earnings tomorrow is when GameStop earnings are going to be. And GameStop, honestly, is up today. So here's GameStop right now. So GameStop is actually green. GameStop is up to 25.50s. Right now, MU up to 95.80s. The Nasdaq is up. So a lot of stuff is up today. What is GameStop expecting here for their earnings? GameStop is expecting... Whoa, here it is. GameStop is expecting a 9-cent profit per share on about $1.45 billion in revenue. So they're actually expecting a profitable quarter. Let's take a look at what they've looked like recently here for GameStop. So GameStop had their big movement in 2021. And now they're pushing towards profitability here. And again, they've honestly had 2 consecutive quarters of profit for GameStop leading into this quarter. And again, this quarter, they're expecting 9-cent profit per share. Listen, if GameStop puts in another quarter of profitability, honestly, that's great. That's great. I'm for it. I'm rooting for it. I hope it does. Honestly, we'll see. I'll cover it when it's streamed. We'll stream the earnings release. They don't do a call anymore for GameStop, but they do an earnings release. So we'll see what that looks like. In any stock, bitch, I see it's up today. It looks good. Yeah. Nice, honestly, a pretty nice trend though. If you put up like a yearly chart on that thing, it looks pretty good for NNE as a company. I'm not telling you guys to buy it. I have no freaking idea what this does. So do we want a stronger GDP or lower? I would say we want stronger GDP, to be honest. I think GDP is one of those things that we always want to be positive. I don't think we necessarily... I think GDP is one of those things that we almost always want positive. We want strong GDP. Payrolls are one of those things that we might want lower. We might want higher, right? Like sometimes if inflation's a big worry, we want lower payrolls versus higher. But I don't think GDP is necessarily one of those things. Not unless we have like a super, super high inflation fearing market. I think if the market like wildly fears inflation, like 2022 inflation spiked up to 10%, the Fed started doing rate hikes, kind of confirming the fears of inflation with all this stuff going on. And that was a weird situation in which like we would react negatively to strong economic reports. But I don't know if GDP was ever one of them. I have to go back. It's been a year since I've covered that stuff. I don't know if GDP was ever one of them. But I do think it's one of those things that we have to watch for and pay attention to and understand like, hey, inflation, it makes it much more nuanced if inflation is a fear. And I think we always fear inflation to a certain extent, but I'm talking about like when inflation is spiking up every month, 1 to 2 percentage points, that's when people start to freak out. Like if I put up a PCE inflation graph, see if I get a longer term chart here. Yeah. So here's a PCE inflation graph by Trading Economics right here. So here's a PCE inflation graph by Trading Economics. One of the things that you see, here's 2020, right? 2020, we did the low interest rate environment, the super economic stimulus market of 2020, where the Fed lowered rates, they did quantitative easing, printed a bunch of money, bought up bonds with and injected liquidity in the market, sent out stimulus checks, just super stimulus of 2020 to try to save us from the economic disaster that it was. Supply chain problems were also there, which certainly contributed to more inflation. And the consequence of all this economic stimulus and supply chain restraints was that PCE spiked here. PCE went up drastically. And so you can kind of see, like, look how fast it was going up. From 2021, it was at about 1.5% PCE. All the way to 2022, it went from 1.5% to 6. 1.5% to 6, right? And so it was spiking up 0.5% or more each month in terms of readings here. That's a big spike, right? That is what contributes to, like, once we get up to this level here, that is when people start fearing strong economic reports. And in terms of like GDP or payrolls or jobless claims or anything like that, when we get to this fearful area of inflation, that is when people start to fear economic growth. Right now, we're here right now. Like if we look at this, the Fed then pivots, like just to put this into perspective, the Fed then pivots to a hawkish stance. They start doing quantitative tightening, which obviously per the last Fed meeting last week, they're still doing QT. They're still being restrictive, taking liquidity away from markets, trying to keep interest rates restrictive to combat inflation, to do exactly what that inflation graph is doing. We also had like a supply chain fix, like supply chains got better. A lot of stuff got a little bit better, which contributed to lower inflation and prices. But when I say inflation is bad, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about inflation spiking up. Inflation might still be high, like here, we're at 2.5% or whatever it was for PCE last time, 2 point something. But we're still moving down. And we might still be dealing with this inflation right here, right? Like this inflation that we got all in these areas right here, we're still dealing with it. That's still high inflation. Prices don't really go back down once they spike. The best we can do is slow them down, and this is the inflation slowing here. But again, the Fed's still doing quantitative tightening. They're not doing MBSs. They're not slowing MBS. They're not slowing the MBS dumps from their balance sheet, which means they basically want to keep mortgage rates higher, is what that means. But they're still dumping the rest of the Treasury stuff, or they're slowing the dump of the Treasury stuff, but they're reducing it 80% in cap, is what they're doing, according to the Fed meeting last week. So it's nuanced. I know that might not make a lot of sense to everybody, but that's basically what's going on. Basically only making money off Pokemon cards. I've heard a couple people mention Pokemon cards today. And as a Pokemon lover here, I love Pokemon. My problem with Pokemon, I've said this once, I'll say it again. My problem with Pokemon cards, I was a original Pokemon collector at the bus stop in the 90s. I had all kind of probably incredibly valuable cards that I just disregarded, and I don't even know what happened. I think somebody stole my binder I had as a kid. Honestly, in hindsight, though, most of my cards were like beat up, dude. But going back to it, my problem with Pokemon is I feel like every time I open a pack, there's never any valuable cards anymore. Like back in the day, you know, you open a Pokemon card pack, you open 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6. Chances are you're getting something that's somewhat valuable. And maybe it has to do with like appreciation of those cards now. That makes sense, I guess. But I feel like I open Pokemon packs with my son, and we don't ever get anything good, bro. Nothing's good. Like, you can open up 10, 15 packs, you're getting nothing. And it just seems like they've gotten a little greedy and diluted lately. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't freaking know. I don't follow it that close. Did you watch LSU women's basketball? I saw the outcome. I didn't watch the game. I was busy Saturday. We had stuff going on. There's actually 3 times in history inflation went down. Yeah, no, I'm not saying inflation never goes down. But the times in which inflation decreases are economic recessions and depressions, right? Look, the 30s, following the first big market crash ever. 1987 Black Monday and 2008 mortgage disaster is the only time inflation has literally gone down. And honestly, I'm not necessarily against that. I would rather us enter a recession than deal with bad inflation problems again, because prices are going up too much. It should scare everybody. It should scare everybody. You do see Pokemon card openings and they go 50 packs and get nothing. Yeah, I know. Listen, I've been there with my son. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, man, like I lived through the basketball, baseball, sports card slump. There was a period, guys, like people don't understand this. Like sports cards huge in the 80s, in the 90s, I think, right? By 2000, almost nobody bought sports cards anymore. By like 2005, I'll say. Sports cards, nobody bought them anymore. Nobody cared about them. Nobody used them. Nobody bought them. Everybody thought they were essentially worthless. People sold their whole collections for pennies on the dollar. And it kind of goes to show like the flow of markets, right? For pennies on the dollar, eventually they got really hyped up again. Topps came out with like new cards and they started producing cards. Like now there's cards. We're in kind of like the mania again, where sport cards are becoming incredibly valuable. There's a lot of innovation there where they're getting like all kind of stuff going on in the sports card industry now. And so it's back now. But there was a really quiet period. I'm not sure if my dates are correct, so hold it with a grain of salt, because my dates might not be correct. But I know there was a noticeable slump in interest and then a huge resurgence and kind of like a mania that came back for it. Hey, nice. I really don't know. I don't really have any sports cards, to be honest, like that. Yeah. Also, guys, if you haven't already, this is my first plug of the day. We've been streaming for how long? We've been streaming for how long? We've been streaming for well over an hour, like an hour and 15 minutes. If you want to check out Top Step, great way to help support the channel. There's no PDT run futures. They give you a demo. They test your skill. You pass the test. They fund you. You fail. You only lose what you pay for it. In this case, the base one is 49 bucks. It's not the end of the world if you lose it. If you pass the test, you get a 50K funded account. They give you basically a 50K demo. You got to make 3K in profit. Dude, I hate Windows 11. You got to basically make, they give you a 50K demo. It's $49 a month. It tests your skill. If you can make 3K in profit without losing 2K first, following their rules and conditions, they fund you 50K with a 90% split, and they've paid out almost 200 million since 2020. They fund thousands of traders. They pay out millions in actual withdrawals. It's a great way to learn how to day trade when most day traders lose. If you put up 5K yourself, you're probably going to lose it. You put up 10, 20, 30 grand, you're probably going to lose. But a lot of that, learn how to trade through something like this is much cheaper usually. It's not always. It's in general. But again, the base one's 49 bucks. It's a 3-to-2 ratio. You got to make 3K in profit without losing 2K following their rules. If you do that, you get a 50K funded account and a 90% split. So the split is similar to funding your own account, to be honest. But if you fail, you're out 50 bucks versus losing thousands like most new traders end up doing. It just makes sense. And in the futures market, there's no PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, the Dow, the Nasdaq, the Russell, gold, some currencies. A lot of Forex traders should be trading it. There's no PDT rule. And if you use my link and go to through my link, go to Top Step X, because there's zero commission on Top Step X. You can use a bunch of different platforms, but Top Step X has the best edge. Again, they are an affiliate of mine, though I am biased because I get paid by them. Here's the link if you want to check it out. Great way to help support the channel. Understand CFTC 4.41 hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Not an investment professional. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. Might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Don't copy me. All right. Market's running today, guys. Market's running. I could short at the top of this range. One of the things I think I need to do, I think if I trade combine accounts, I need to if I trade combine accounts, I think I need to only trade after the bell. All right, so look at this test up here. Look at this run. How? How do you turn off the setting? Yeah, I can turn off the snap windows thing. I think I'm going to. There we go. Yeah, that's where I am right now. I just did this. Like, look, I was just doing the multitasking thing. I just turned it off, hopefully. It was annoying, man. Like, look. There you go. That's better. Yeah. Okay. That's all I want. All right. So we are tapping this 275 level that we have on our chart here. I'm definitely still watching that spot. Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Alright, so we got this 2060 level down here. I think we've confirmed off of it enough. I can also look at like 2050 though. I'm gonna put one at 2050 just to see. Yeah, I see people targeting like Teslas. I've seen this a lot. But like they have to remember something like this though, okay? Like this is something that's very clear if you look at politics in general, is that it's a pendulum, right? It goes back and forth, right? It swings back and forth. It literally is a pendulum. And so what this is going, if they target Teslas too much, honestly, what it's really going to do, it's going to make people swing against them. Like it's going to make people stop supporting that behavior and they're going to turn and pivot towards the other end. That's something that's incredibly clear. Hey, thank you, Kay. Appreciate the donation, brother. Thank you, sir. All right, so we're consolidating here. I'm still looking at 2060s. I think I made a little bit of money yesterday or last week. Yeah. So these are micros. Oh, I've got a bunch of combines. Actually, I only have one right now. I mean, I failed, like... I do have a bunch that I've basically failed at, but, like, it doesn't matter too much, dude. I have, like, 3 or 4 funded accounts, and then a bunch of failed ones. I think that's pretty normal, anybody that's, like, actively doing it. But I am honestly green in every single funded account that I have. I'm not red in any of them, and I've had them for a while too. So like we're doing pretty good. So we trade wildly different once we actually get funded, is what it is, you know. All right, so we're retesting that 2070 or that 275. GDP is Thursday. This Thursday GDP drops. MU's pushing up. I'm going to put NVIDIA on these charts here instead of MU. MU's over, or NVIDIA's up to 120s. So look at that rejection right there at 274. We literally tapped it. Any catalyst expected today? Yeah, so we got manufacturing PMI data. I think we got flash manufacturing and services PMI today. So they're both expected at 51.5% for both of them. They drop at 9:45. We're going to cover them all like we always do. They drop in less than an hour. Less than an hour. And in fact, let me change my title to this. we go. All right, guys. So, what else we got? All right, guys, so we're still consolidating between this 260 level and this 274 level in the NQ. Nvidia's over 120s. We got the SPY at 571s. We got the Nasdaq at 488s. Yeah. Apple's all the way back up to 220s today. Apple's one of those stocks that I always like buying, regardless of where it's at, just because I think it's going to be fine no matter what. So many people in the U.S. use Apple technology, so I think it's hard to bet against that. So I'll put a timer up until Flash services PMI. Again, I'm going to preface this with, like, I don't know how big of a release this is. We got 50 minutes, basically. Here's the timer. I'll put the data up on screen. I'll put the expected numbers in parentheses. I think they're both expected at 51.5. All right, so we're pulling back here. I wonder if I should buy this 250 or the 260 level. I could take a range-bound trade. We have less than 40 minutes until the opening bell, but I think I'm just going to wait until the open today. I don't like how slow Apple grows. John, what do you think about the gap up at midnight? I think the tariff news is causing optimism. I should have bought that 260 bounce. Remember I talked about that just now. I should have bought it. We got to 261, but it was close enough to justify, I think, right? Would y'all rather me little in the corner or big, you know, Godzilla John right here? You know, let me know which one you guys would rather. I can put myself up either one, you know. Checking phones? What do you mean, RS? Are they really checking your phone? See, it's so split down the middle. Previous, Big John, Bigger John, Little Middle, Larger. I mean, I can put myself in the middle here so I'm not blocking anything. All right, so we're tapping this 274 level. Honestly, we're kind of flat. They really are? What would Pokemon do? Honestly, yeah, look at this 275 level. So we got a range here for sure, but again, my luck is I buy the bottom of the range. Like if I buy it up right here, we just dump down half the time, so I'm just going to wait. All right, so we're about to hit 9 a.m. here. %90 of the screen. Or I can make myself a little mini John right here. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the John. You know? Should I do it this way? Bull trap? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Everything looks green. How does that sound? Yeah, I just thought about it. Small is good. All right, guys, so just to give a recap to everybody that might have just joined the stream, this is why the market is rallying so far today in pre-market. The U.S. administration plans to implement new tariffs on April 2nd. Everybody knows this, and I'm going to affectionately refer to this as Judgment Day. As part of its reciprocal tariff strategy aiming to match tariffs that other countries impose on U.S. goods. However, the specifics have evolved with certain sectors potentially being exempted. Here's the breakdown. The core intent of the reciprocal tariffs is to equalize the tariff rates between U.S. and trading partners. I'm going to put myself somewhere in the middle, right around here, back to where I was. This means that if a company imposes higher tariffs on U.S., the U.S. basically reciprocates that and imposes the equivalent tariff on imports from that country. The administration believes this approach will encourage fairer trade practices and address imbalances in trade. Recent reports indicates that the administration may exclude certain sectors from its upcoming tariffs. Automobiles and auto parts, initially considered part of the tariffs, the auto industry might receive exemptions due to concerns about potential price increases for consumers and disruptions to supply chains. Companies in the semiconductor sector, and so one of the things like you see happening this morning with that automobile and auto parts, which might receive exemptions from the tariffs, you see GM gapping up today. Look, if we put up GM on this middle chart up to 51s, you see Tesla gapping up to almost 260s. You see Ford gapping up a little bit as well. And here's the market pushing up. So the Nasdaq just broke over that 274 level. It's up to 280s now. But yeah, that's one of the reasons the market's up. Another sector benefiting from this is semiconductors. Companies in the semiconductor sector such as Marvell, Taiwan Semiconductors, Nvidia, AMD have seen stock prices amid speculation of exemptions. The pharmaceutical industry is something that other people are talking about might get exemptions here as well. In terms of targeted countries, the reciprocal tariffs are expected to focus on countries with which the U.S. has had significant trade deficits. The administration has not released the official list, but people are speculating on all this stuff. Analysts are predicting that automobile prices, because of all this, could increase by $4,000 to $12,000 each, affecting both new and used markets. So that is one of the reasons, like, less targeted tariffs on specific sectors, more exemptions for specific sectors is what's driving the market up this morning. Aside from just extension on the downside, this is mostly what's bringing the market higher today. And again, we do have manufacturing data coming out today, which, might influence things. We'll see. Yeah, that we are doing with tariffs. Oh. What? Triple witching over. How did witching hour end up going? The last hour of the day, that day. Let me look. We ran on witching hour on the 21st. Honestly, we're kind of flat most of it, though. Most of the day on quad witching day, we were flat. We were green, though, so the Nasdaq did end up going up on quad witch. But witching hour is kind of flat. Let's look at some levels here. We're here. I'm looking for price action here. I'm going to have to put up a longer term chart. Okay. There we go. So we put one at 285s. Let's see if we stop here. Look at this. So we did kind of stop there. I just drew this level too on 285s. Doesn't mean we're gonna hold though. Like we did test it, which is good. It confirms it a little bit, but with this strength, we got 25 minutes until the opening bell. Is it only for people who make under 150 forward? Can we stay flat today? I don't know, man. I think we got a lot of stuff happening this week. It depends on if the market reacts big to manufacturing data, which I think is a little unknown. So look, we drew the level at 285. It really goes to show how weighted people are to support and resistance. Because I could basically look back, find an isolated level, draw a line there, and then it rejects. Interesting. Doesn't mean it's going to hold, but a little stop and go action, maybe. I'm not really mad. I don't really get too upset about day trading. I try to stop myself from trading in pre-market and only really trade after the opening bell. Like, what happens in pre-market? I might miss buys, sells, whatever. I don't really beat myself up too much over missing stuff. It's unnecessary. Oh, yeah, I'd definitely be for that, Tony. Wipe it out 160K in income tax. Yeah, for sure. I'd be okay with that. Yeah, there's always going to be more stuff to do. Like, I've known people who got, like, super upset if they miss moves. And then I've known people who just kind of brush it off. I get both ways. Like, I understand being upset if you miss something, but I'm not, I'm not going to get mad. I almost never get upset if I miss anything. If you guys watch, like, and I miss stuff all the time. Some would say I'm the top 3 most missing out trader of moves in the market. So, I mean, yeah. All right, so now we're retesting 285s. I'm screwed on holding NVO. Didn't they have a deal, though, with somebody? Didn't NVO have some type of deal where they had a big buyout? Let me see. It's so NVO, which is Novo Nordisk, shelled out $2 billion on a Chinese weight drug. It just agreed to shell out up to $2 billion for the global rights to a Chinese weight loss drug, and the market did not like it at all. If we look at NVO here, it's down from 77s to 75s. Yeah, that's what I heard. That, yeah, top 3 least FOMOing trader in the world right now for sure. I really am the type that I don't really get super upset. I mean, I've been upset, of course. I miss the moves. Most of the time, they're longer term moves. I don't really get thrown off for missing things. What throws me off is having, like, too much stimulus going on in my area. Like, if you ever watch the stream, I'll get thrown off if we got people knocking on my door, the dog's barking, we got some guy doing the grass with the weed eater at the window, like, that's what'll throw me off to where I can't focus. But less so about missing moves. I don't really tell people I'm a good trader or an investor or trader or anything like that, so, like, I have no standard to live up to. And NVO's down some, but it's not down that much, and it might benefit them long term. I don't know enough about this weight loss drug to say. I know my wife she has a disc for asthma from this company, I think, from Novo. All right, so look, here we're testing that 285 spot again. We broke over it for a second. Let's see if we hold. Some random analyst downgrades 50%. Yeah, for sure. I hope they announce that going forward. Regardless of political bias or anything, I hope they take 160K off of income tax. As long as they don't, like, overcompensate for over that. Like, if you make over 150, you have to pay more or something. I wouldn't like that, but you guys red or green today? All right, so we did reject 285 again. There's 274s. I'm gonna put NVIDIA up. It's at 120s. Green, nice. If you make over a 150, you'd only be taxed on over it, and it would make the same. Is this something they're really trying to do? I don't really watch politics. I really don't. We'll try a little dip buy here. We're gonna have to take some size in here, but As long as we don't get like a big turn, I'm okay with it. I'd like a little bit more size. This ain't enough. I feel like this is going to keep dropping, yeah. I'd like up here. We'll hold it a little bit longer, but we're at that level here, but again, it looks like it's going to keep dropping. Let's take half off. See if we can add back to it. Well, should have held. The bounce would have worked, but I think I'm gonna have to cut it now. So this kind of shows I need to be more disciplined with my entries. I got in a little early, and it popped all the way up to here, but I think it's over now. I'm gonna have to cut this. So we lost a tiny amount. Yeah, I mean, it's like $15 though, so I'll be all right. It might honestly bounce right here too. Like what happened here is I ended up jumping in here, and then it ended up bouncing back. If I would have just waited to buy it right here, that would have been a nice little bounce back. I could have taken profit on it, but when I say I'm stopping buying in December, it usually means I'm referring to long-term investments. Like we're day trading to have fun here. It's not the end of the world no matter what. But when I say I'm stopping buying in December, I usually mean I'm not buying stocks. I'm not DCAing into anything anymore, you know. I'm not going to keep adding to stuff, and I did liquidate some stuff too. Just because I thought we might correct, and we did, you know. But I'll day trade every day. I mean, I day trade pretty regularly. That's not what I'm talking about when I say I'm not buying. And it looks like exiting was the right move, because there's the breakdown. But I could have maybe made a little bit on this bounce, but it's such a small spot of profit right there. I don't know if that's enough. Where's gold? Let me see. Gold's been breaking all-time highs. Gold's up to 30-30s. All-time highs are what, 30-60s right now? Yeah, 30-65s. I mean, gold just pulled back. It's not going to go straight up. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't buy that. Or I'm glad I didn't hold this. Let's see if we reject here at 275s now or get back up there. I think I'm probably just going to wait until the opening bell. I'm not really the best trader in pre-market. So, I have my moments where I do okay, but I think most of my stats point towards better trading after the bell. We'll see how that goes. Are you ready to start adding on your long-term investments? I don't know, man. Yeah, I probably could have made some money on this trade, but it's all good. Yeah, the timer until 9:45 is when the manufacturing PMI data comes out. So manufacturing PMI shows up at 9:45 today. I don't know how much, like in general, we don't get a big reaction to flash manufacturing and services. We just don't. Today, in the landscape of everything going on, maybe we do. I don't know. I'm just speculating on it, so we'll have to wait and see. But I don't know for sure. But that's the data that shows up today. So we'll see what it looks like. Bitcoin. I see gold. I mean, gold's up a little bit today, but it's still got room to go. Bitcoin hit 88K. It's now dipping down some. Yeah, I don't know whether I want to add to my portfolio yet. I'm not really doing it yet, but maybe this is the start of a big bull run. And look at that 285 level reject again. The range works, but maybe I need to lower this range here. I don't know. Tariffs are good. They are helping other companies build. Maybe. It's going to take time to see that benefit from them, though. You know. So it's like the whole point of tariffs is to build U.S. manufacturing in sectors in the U.S. more, but there's going to be a lag, and during that lag, we might get weak stuff going on. D-wave is done. I don't know. Bull trapping for sure. Maybe. I don't think anything's for sure. I think we could honestly go either way. Maybe we're up and we're trapping bulls and we're going to come back down and start testing lows. Maybe. Maybe we're going to keep creeping up and rebound some from this correction. I think either one of them is possible. I think it depends on what manufacturing looks like. But even that's not guaranteed to move markets. So who knows, man. I'm not going to really be weighted towards one direction or make fun of anybody for thinking the other direction. I think that's dumb, you know. No offense, but nobody knows. Variance is so high. Hey, Rosie. How you doing, baby? Hey, Rosie. Hey, that's my girl. All right. Hey, baby. You a good girl. All right, but you got to get out. Out. Thank you, baby. My dog's running in here. Yeah, there's 275s. Again, I'm not, like, some of my levels are confirming, but I'm not really reading the market the best in pre-market, so I think I'm just going to wait the next 9 minutes, let the opening bell happen first. Hopefully you guys are doing good. This is Rosie right here. In my opinion, we're in a bear flag for the next 30 days, and we continue to go down with Q1 stock and tariff. What do you think? Maybe. I think it's possible. Like if we look, let me put this up. So you think we're basically gonna, let's put a 4-hour chart up. You think this right here is a bear flag? And then you think we're gonna keep breaking down? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I see it. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. I think it depends on what happens April 2nd. April 2nd's a big day. You know, we got PCE data on Friday, GDP data this Thursday. It's the final revision for GDP 2. Ugh. I wanted the market to crash, but we're done with that. It doesn't make sense for companies to move manufacturing into the U.S. when labor costs are insurmountable. We might have positive news. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm smelling. I don't know what that is. Something she came in here, you know. Not really on my hands. I don't know what she did in here. I gotta look. She ran in here. I gotta watch it now, but. Hey, bro, how you doing, man? I love you, buddy. Hey. All right, guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to say I'm bullish either. I think a lot of them are just probably mirroring Wall Street's posts. Morgan Stanley came out with that post basically thinking that we're going to rebound for the rest. And maybe that happens. I really don't know. I think it's possible we rebound. It's also possible the other thing happens where the market just kind of... it depends on what happens. You know, I think one of the things that we're seeing is we're seeing a backtracking of tariff outlook, right? Originally, President came out, super tariffs, yeah, you know, rebuild American manufacturing. And then the market hated that and negatively reacted to it. And we went on this little 15% correction. And then since then, he's kind of backtracked a little bit and said, oh, well, you know, we're not going to be as strict with these different sectors, you know, microchips specifically, which is something that leads the market is microchips, right? And then the market has kind of come back some. And so it depends on what happens there. Like, it depends on what happens April 2nd, what his comments are like, if he's so, you know, really deep-rooted in pushing these tariffs and what that makes the market do. That's what matters most here. Hey, I love you. Hey. All right, guys. $6 is good. $6 is good. Yeah. Does Kramer say it's time to start buying up? That's a risk for sure. All right, so we bounced right off at 260s here. Yeah, well, most microchip stocks are up right now, Corey. So that's one of the news today is that if you look at some of the news, reports indicate that the administration may exclude different sectors from tariffs. One of them is semiconductors. So companies in the semiconductor sector, such as Marvel, Taiwan Semiconductors, AMD, NVIDIA, have seen stock price increases on speculations of exemptions from the president. And so that's another reason a lot of stuff is moving up today, including a lot of semiconductor stuff. Now, here's the thing, though. So if he comes out April 2nd and does not exclude semiconductors, I think it would be kind of crazy not to, because it's going to be an automatic big drop, right? If he comes out and doesn't exclude some stuff there, obviously the market's going to pivot back to what the big bearish reaction. And so I would assume he's not going to do that, though, and I would assume he would understand the outcome of that if he does. But again, we just got to wait and see. We got to wait and see what he says. The European Central Bank, I thought they cut on Thursday, though, Sam. All right, we got less than 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes. Yeah, so it's Jim Cramer. He says, I want to be clear about this death cross pattern in NVIDIA. It's entirely possible since the invention of the 0-day options that expire today that we have at last found an option that's more important than the comment underneath. Death cross short-term 50-day moving below 200-day short seller's paradise on NVIDIA looks solid enough, but there's been relentless pressure in the last hour from small NVIDIA targets trying to knock it down back under the so-called cross. If you combine the power of 0-day with inverse ETFs, they can take down a stock even as large as NVIDIA. So is that Cramer being bearish? When did he post that, Pawn? 3 hours ago? All right, guys, we got less than a minute. Yeah, Cramer. I feel for Cramer. I really do. All right, so here's a breakdown now. Some levels I'm looking at the opening bell, and I can't guarantee anything, of course. 285s. I drew this level on the chart, and afterwards it confirmed it 3 times. So 285 is one. I'm still watching 275s, and I'm watching 2050. Or 250 here, because it's right around the 200 exponential, and it's also kind of like a milestone level. So I'm watching 250 here for a potential reaction at least. But who knows? We got 5 seconds left. Let's see what we get. All right, there's the bell. All right, so there's 250. And again, we're at the open, so 250 might just blow through, and it looks like it is. Now we're underneath it, though. We'll see if it holds its resistance, but we do have the 200 EMA there. We'll let the opening bell play out first and see what happens. See, look at that retracement. All right, let's see if 250 holds now. Yeah, NVIDIA's popping up. NVIDIA's testing the highs of the day at 120.25s. What else we got? SPY still heading down, though. There's the market start to turn. AMD's pulling back some. NVIDIA's pushing up, though. What's up? Let me see. Tesla's dropping fast. Tesla fell out of 257s. Apple dropping quickly, too. Look at that bounce, man. NVIDIA's still rising, though, at 2050s. Look at that retracement. That looks weak. What retraced this much to justify it? I gotta think it's... Yeah, so Tesla has retraced and is now green. Just tapped 260s. Interesting. Let's put up some Mag 7 stocks here. Look at 2035s. We drew that. It bounced directly off of it in the opening volatility, but... Looking at Apple here too. Apple's been breaking down. Tesla's moving up since the open. Apple's fallen down. Meta's kind of flat. Netflix is flat since the open. Microsoft is actually down pretty significantly here. It's down to 392s. We're only 2 minutes into the day. I'm not really loving any of this, to be honest, yet. I gotta just wait. Quantum is pumping. Where's Palantir at? Is Palantir moving? I know Palantir is part of the Nasdaq now. Palantir's moving back up. Nvidia's testing highs, about to hit 121s. All right, I got Tesla, Google, Apple, Palantir, Netflix, Meta, and Microsoft up. Any other big stock charts you think I should include here? We're still only 3 minutes into the open, and so we're kind of backtracking here. I'm going to try to buy this. This is my first position on the day. We'll see if we bounce. I'm going to take half off at least and just wait. Yeah, we're getting chopped out. Honestly, we're down like 40 bucks. Palantir cracked that low at 92s. Oh, yeah, we do have manufacturing PMI in 10 minutes. Chad, in 10 minutes. Tesla did drop at the open, but it's since rebounded back up. So it dropped originally down to 256, and then it popped all the way back up to 263. Look at this red action, though. This is Palantir, Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Netflix all down. Yeah, we got a bunch of reports. It's mostly weighted towards the end of this week, but we got some stuff. Like today, we got manufacturing PMI, and we got some other stuff too. But today's, we don't know how big it's going to be. Like, it can be big. It can also be small. And again, we've kind of chopped too much since the open, back and forth. So maybe the market's waiting for manufacturing data to come out. That's possible too. Netflix is honestly getting really weak here if we look at it. Nvidia's starting to turn too. It makes me more bearish, but it depends on if Nvidia bounces in this zone right here around 120. Yeah, we got 9 minutes until PMI data comes out. But again, usually, like, just to put it into perspective, usually manufacturing and services flash PMI data is not the biggest market mover. And I think the context of it is a little bit different right now because of all the tariff looming fear. And that obviously directly impacts manufacturing here in the U.S. And so U.S. manufacturing data, like flash manufacturing and services data, not just manufacturing, but services, is a little bit more relevant than normal in the context of tariffs, but I don't know how big of a reaction we're going to get from it. SPY's heading up, though, and it's green. I see people talking about quantum stocks. Oh, okay. All right, so we are getting this big rebound back up here. Sorry, I popped out the chat. My monitor's too big. Top 3 biggest monitor in the world right now. This time it actually might be true. All right, so we're rebounding back up. NVIDIA did bounce at that 120 level. And so I'm glad I didn't go bearish and get faked out. Because a lot of stuff. Google's bouncing back. Apple's bouncing back. Quantum stocks are doing well. Meta's up to 618s. Netflix is still very weak. Apple's rebounding back up to 220.50s. Palantir's back up to 93s. I'm going to let things play out first here, though, guys. I'm going to wait until we get manufacturing data show up, I think. I think I'm going to feel bad if I try to push it too much before manufacturing data comes out. And then I end up losing more and, you know. And so I'd rather just wait for the data to show up. We got 6 minutes, not that long. The closer we get to it, the more rangy I think we're going to be. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys. So we did pull back here at 2085s or 285s again. It looks like we're moving strong, though. We might push over it now. Yeah, there we go. The real question I have for you guys with 5 minutes left until PMI data, does manufacturing PMI data push us back down or do we continue higher? They're both expected at 51.5. You can see it right here. This is the expected number right there, 51.5. So that's what they're expected at. We'll see what they look like. Less than 5 minutes, chat. Less than 5 minutes. Yeah, it's 9:45, Tiny. So, again, so usually flash PMI data is not a big release. Like, I cover it, but it's not really the biggest. Today, it might be in the landscape of, again, tariff fears, right? Tariff fears, you know, have to do with manufacturing and services. And today, we got flash manufacturing and services coming out. And so, generally, they're not a big release, but they might be bigger today. We'll have to wait and see. We'll cover it as soon as they drop. Lower PMI would be weaker manufacturing and services, depending on which one it is. What do y'all think of the music today, outside of the crazy ones? Honestly, I didn't mind most of this music. $285 keeps rejecting. Nice levels, John. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how confident I am in it now, but 285 did work. Yeah, appreciate it. It doesn't mean it's going to hold now, though. Honestly, it looks like it's starting to break it down, break the level down, that is. But we got 3 minutes left, though, chat. 3 minutes. Did he really put out a new album, Ryan? Yeah, 285 did hold, though. Let's watch 260 now. I don't know. I'm just again, I'm waiting for this data to show up. We got 2.5 minutes. Yeah, I haven't followed his music in a long time. All right, Tesla up, looking strong, back up to almost 265s. A lot of stuff starting to pull back down now, though. There's 260s. Let's look at 250. So 260 just dumped through. Look at this candlestick. Let's see if 250 bounces right here. Again, I'm not going to take a trade 2 minutes before data shows up, but all right, guys, 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm trying to put the freaking, there we go. This is going to be better. Yeah, I mean, guys, listen, don't be so emotional about your direction, you know? Like if the market, like I'm not the reason the market pushed up some today. I'm not the reason the market's going down. If anything, I told people I don't know which way the market's going to go. I think both ways can make sense. It depends on what happens. And I see some people like getting like upset that I don't agree with their direction. I think you got to just take it with a grain of salt. Understand nobody freaking knows here. And if you're getting mad at other people for their thinking the other direction, you're being too emotionally weighted towards one side. You got to just react, I think, more than predict. But we'll see. All right, so there's 250. We tapped it, and now we're retracing back up here. We got 40 seconds left. 40 seconds. Again, it's expected at 51.5, roughly 51.5 for both of them. Some of them are expected at, we got 40 seconds. One of them, manufacturing is a little bit higher at almost 52. Services is about 51.2, but it depends on where we look. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here's the data right here. Waiting. What a weird gap up in markets right now, guys. What a weird gap up. Mine's kind of lagging here. It's not really showing up. The market hasn't really moved either, though. But look at this weird gap up. Hold on, let me look up another place. All right, so manufacturing at 49.8 versus 51.7. Services at 54.3 versus 50. So services came in a lot stronger than expected. Regular manufacturing showed up a lot weaker. So manufacturing was much weaker. Services was much stronger than expected. Yeah, very strange glitch. Here's the flash services PMI report. We'll put this up in chat. So yeah, we'll put this up in chat. There's services PMI 54.3. Previous was 51. Last time they expected 50.8 is what they showed up as. Manufacturing came in pretty weak at 49.8 versus like look. So here's manufacturing as well. Interesting. Honestly, the market did react, but it's still kind of flat. You got to understand, like services came in much stronger than expected here. Manufacturing came in much weaker than expected. So we're kind of like in the middle. One was strong, one was weak. And so the question you got to ask is, what's more important, the services sector or manufacturing? Services strong, 54 point something versus 51 expected. So strong. Manufacturing was weak. Manufacturing showed up under 50 versus a 52 or 53 expected. So yeah. And right now, market's going up. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. But both are very important. Well, yeah, they're both important. But what I'm asking is, in terms of like trying to predict the upcoming direction, is which one's more weighted towards market reactions. And right now, services are. We're up a little bit. Sometimes the first move is the wrong move, though. And again, I'll put the manufacturing on the screen. I'll put the services on screen first, because that's probably why the market's up. Here's services, and then I'll put manufacturing up on screen too. Here you go, guys. Here is the report. I'll put them right underneath me. There you go. Market's up though. Broke that 285 level. Now we're starting to creep up here. So we'll see if we can get some trades, but I haven't been trading the best today. Yeah, and what this means is like the ISM services data is probably going to get a little bit larger reaction than normal too. When's the next ISM services report? Yeah, so next ISM services is April 1st, the day before the tariff judgment day. Tesla's ripping up right now though. Here's Tesla, 266. Look at Tesla. So this tariff news is definitely helping Tesla rebound some. It's up to 267s. Palantir is up to almost 95s. Meta is up to almost 620s, or over 620s. Netflix is still down though. Apple's kind of choppy and sideways. Google's green over the last 20 minutes especially. Or over the last 15 minutes, I should say. All right, look at Tesla run. Yeah, look at Tesla on this right side here, chat. Do y'all think we're in a... here's a question. I hear a lot of people yelling for a bull trap. With the recent rise, do you guys still think we're going to drop? I heard a lot of people talking about this today. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't freaking know. But do y'all still think we're dropping? Where's NVIDIA? Yeah, NVIDIA is honestly kind of flat. Like, look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA hasn't really moved much. Look at this. Gap filler of the Nasdaq. Maybe. Wait till April 2nd. I think April 2nd's the day too. I'm going to take a trade here, a short-term trade, or a short trade here. See if we can break down a little bit first, but we're trading such a small range today. We're not really getting too much action here. He took half off. Didn't really get a good fill there. Honestly, man, my fills have been worse. I made a little bit, but see if we can add to this if we get some flush, but we added to a winning trade, but it's not really, we're retracing too quick. Very close to cutting it and maybe just walking away. I'm just not really trading great today, which happens. We'll give it a second though. Now we're back down to flats. Oh, dude, I accidentally got off the top up there. I didn't want to get out. Let me see if I can short this retracement back down. I wanted to hold that. I accidentally cut in both positions. I made money in the trade, but now we're kind of retracing back up. Yeah, I gotta get out. And see, now I'm long. All right. I mean, I cut that here. We made a little bit on the string of trades, but not much. Yeah, I think PCE inflation data comes out Friday. We're down slightly on the day, not much at all. But I think like PCE inflation comes out Friday. We got GDP first final revision data coming out too. So like we got some stuff happening. We'll see if it looks good, but we'll see what PCE data is. The market might be waiting for that. It really depends on what happens. Market could be waiting for it. Kind of gotta wait. It's taking too long now. See if the market picks up strength. Tesla still rising is what's dragging everything up too. So we'll see if it holds up here. We're kind of sideways now. Let's see if we start to break. Yeah. Let's see, we keep bouncing off of that 317 level. Nvidia's still choppy. Nvidia going down. Nvidia's testing the VWAP right here. The market does look like it's slowing, but who knows how much it's going to go, you know. So it looks like it wants to go higher, but I'm just not really trusting it. Tesla's finally pulling back. We'll see if that means anything now. We got Tesla pulling back. Meta's still green. Google's bouncing back. See if we slow. Let's look at 317s is what I'm kind of looking at now. 317s. I want to see if we can hit that level. There we go. We just tapped it. We actually got ourselves green in the other account. So look at 317s. Honestly, I shorted it to that 317 level. We tapped right off of it now, though. I didn't really want to hold through a bounce here. I'll put this account. This is the account we've been trading on today. So we are green. You can see the trades that we got in here, but still a very quiet day, guys. I'm not really liking it. We did tap right at 317, though. Look at that. But hopefully you guys are doing better than I am. I mean, I'm green on the day. Like, look, you can kind of see me green up here. But not really feeling it today, man. We had manufacturing data come out. And again, if you want to day trade with me on Top Step, this is only my second plug all day in hours of streaming. If you want to check out Top Step, no PDT rule in futures. If you want to get around the PDT rule, trade, learn how to trade, learn a structured environment of trading, try Top Step. Top Step gives you a 50K demo. They test your skill with it. If you can make 3K in profit on that 50K demo without losing 2K first, following their rules and conditions, they fund you 50K with a 90% split, and they pay out millions. They fund thousands of traders. They paid out almost 200 million in the last 4 years. They've been around for over 12 years. They're the most legit one in the world, and this does teach you how to trade. Most day traders lose, though. Regardless of where you go, most day traders are going to lose. It's a lot cheaper to lose here than it is to fund thousands in your own account and lose that, most likely at least. No PDT in futures. You can day trade the S&P, the Dow, the Nasdaq, the Russell, gold. Some currencies patterns are incredibly similar, and day trading this is incredibly similar to day trading stocks. No PDT rule. If you want to check it out, use TopStep X, 0 commission. When you go through my link, use TopStep X, 0 commission, so I can trade these micros small like I have today. And if you want to check it out, here's the link. Remember, I'm not an investment professional. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. You want to confirm it all with them first. I can't guarantee anything, chat. Tesla pumping up, though, still. Here's the link in chat right now. Understand CFTC 4.41. Hypothetical or simulated performance have limitations. Look at Tesla. Tesla about to hit 270s right now, chat. 270s. Yeah, I'm green. I'm happy with green, to be honest. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, guys, I think I'm probably just going to cut out. Hey, listen, I love you all. Y'all have a great day. Remember, tomorrow we got GameStop earnings. I think we got durable goods tomorrow. We got the Case-Shiller House Price Index. We got CB Consumer Confidence, new home sales. Wednesday, we got durable goods. We got GameStop earnings tomorrow evening as well. And then Thursday and Friday, we got GDP data. Yeah. Yeah. Fun morning for sure. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Have a great day, chat. Y'all be safe.